So 7.2, we're going to start talking about cell structures. Okay, cell structures. The main function of the cell wall, which is the first one we're going to go over here, is to provide support and protection for the cell, found only in plant. Now it's going to be found in other things too, other than plants. It's just we're discussing plant versus animal cells. Those are the only two types of cells we're worried about here. We're not worried about fungi cells. We're not worried about prokaryotic cells right now. Okay, we're worried about plant versus animal cells. Now notice that there are multiple layers in this picture for the cell wall. You have the primary cell wall, you have the pectin layer in the middle, and you have the secondary cell wall. Okay. Now these diagrams here are going to be on your test. These are a plant and an animal cell, and what I've done is I've taken these exact diagrams and I've blocked out the terms and I've put little boxes and you fill in the blanks, and that's all that you're going to do. And that's a large portion of your test grade. So you absolutely have to know this. You can also find this in your textbook in 7.2, right in your text. Okay? So looking through them, the nucleus controls most of the cell processes and contains the hereditary information in the form of DNA. Okay? We see that the nucleus is going to be found in the cell. It is enclosed by a membrane. The DNA is going to be found inside, and you can see in this picture right here that there are pores to allow movement into and out of the nucleus. Now, chromatin is the granular material visible within the nucleus. So if we take a look at that picture all the way to the left, it looks like a bowl of spaghetti. That is the chromatin. Once it condenses and wraps around proteins called histones, we end up with a condensed form of it and form what's called a chromosome. Chromosomes are going to be important for cell division. Right here, we see chromosomes are the condensed form of chromatin, and it is used when the cell divides. Okay. The nucleolus is a small, dense region within the nucleus that is where the assembly of ribosomes begins. Okay, we see that dark spot in the middle of the nucleus is where the assembly of ribosomes begin, and that's the nucleolus. Sticking with the same picture, the nuclear envelope is the double membrane layer surrounding the nucleus. Okay, so it surrounds the nucleus. The cytoskeleton is a structure that helps to support the cell, and the cytoskeleton is a network of protein filaments that helps to maintain its shape. The cytoskeleton is also involved in many forms of cell movement. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the parts of the cytoskeleton, right? The two types of elements. Right? The microtubules are hollow tubes of protein, about 25 nanometers in diameter, and they maintain the cell's shape, and they serve as tracks along which organelles can be moved. And we could see them labeled there, the tubes in the diagram. Now looking at microfilaments are long, thin fibers that function in the movement and support of the cell. And those are going to be the two the cytoskeletal elements that we are going to be concerned with for this chapter. Ribosomes are small particles made of RNA on which proteins are assembled. So we see them here, those little dots on the outside of the endoplasmic reticulum. And we're going to talk about the endoplasmic reticulum a little bit more here. The endoplasmic reticulum is an internal membrane system. The endoplasmic reticulum is the organelle which components of the cell membrane are assembled and some proteins are modified. So we see right here those little circles coming off of the endoplasmic reticulum. That is at the trans end of the endoplasmic reticulum, and they are forming vesicles. Right? Those vesicles will be used to create the Golgi apparatus and transport proteins within the cell. The rough endoplasmic reticulum is called that because ribosomes stud the outer walls. So you can usually find the rough endoplasmic reticulum right around the nucleus, and you have the ribosomes right there so that the RNA leaves the nucleus and can go right to the ribosomes for protein synthesis. The Golgi apparatus is an organelle that proteins are moved to after they are produced by the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So when the rough ER produces proteins, they are then sent to the Golgi apparatus, and the Golgi apparatus attach lipids and carbohydrates to the proteins. It is called the packaging center of the cell. Right? The Golgi is packaging it for transport out of the cell or within the cell itself. Lysosomes are small organelles filled with enzymes. One function is to break down lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins from food particles. That can be used by the rest of the cell. Another function is to break down organelles that have outlived their usefulness. So it's kind of like the disposal system of the cell. The vacuole is a storage structure that often holds water, salts, and proteins and carbohydrates. The pressure in these vacuoles makes it possible for plants to hold up heavy structures such as leaves. Okay, so the vacuole is going to be kind of like a bubble in the middle of the cell that fills up and creates pressure, allowing some support for the cell. Chloroplasts are found only in plants. They use energy from sunlight to make energy-rich food molecules in a process known as photosynthesis. So we're going to spend a lot of time on photosynthesis. The next chapter we do will actually be entirely on photosynthesis, dealing with the thylakoids and the stroma and the grana, and we're going to go through the process itself. But what you need to know right now is that it is the site of photosynthesis. All right. Mitochondria are organelles that release energy from stored food molecules. Mitochondria use energy from food to make high energy compounds that the cell can use to power growth, development, and movement, and they are the site of aerobic respiration. So what you need to take away from this is that you are going to have cell respiration, aerobic respiration happen in the mitochondria. They're going to take that glucose that we talked about, all right, that you get from your food, and they're going to convert it to ATP. Okay, and we are going to spend another entire chapter on it. Chapter 9 will be entirely on aerobic respiration, so we will get a lot of that into. All right. Unlike other organelles, chloroplasts and mitochondria contain their own genetic information in the form of DNA, and mitochondrial DNA comes from the mother, the egg cell. Okay, so these are the exceptions to the cell theory as well, because they contain their own genetic information.